With that said, welcome to our Cord Cutting 101 presentation. I'm so excited to be diving into this topic with you all. We've got some fantastic content for you planned tonight. So let's dive right in with some introductions. For those of you who are new to our team, my name is Isabel Wells. I'm the alchemist and director for Moonrising Shamanic Institute. I've been in the shamanic space for about a decade, and I have a lot of passion for bridging the gap between science and spirituality. So I have a background in nursing and psychology, as well as a passion for quantum physics and neurology and all of these things, and finding the places and spaces where they connect. And I find a really beautiful meeting ground for the two of them in shamanic work. And so a lot of the cord cutting information that you're going to be hearing tonight comes from our shamanic training. And it's something that we teach to our students in depth in our shamanic program. So I'm really excited to dive into this topic. And I'm joined today by Chantel Ochoa. She's absolutely amazing, an absolutely phenomenal practitioner, and I'm really excited to share space with her tonight.
Hello, everyone. I am Chantel Ochoa, and I am the mystic here at Moonrising Shamanic Institute. I am an instructor here, as well as coming forward with I enjoy reading cards. I enjoy, like, with the shamanism. I have been knowingly and unknowingly working with shamanic principles for quite a long time, but definitely just I have a background in sign language interpreting, as well as my own practice as a shamanic Reiki practitioner. And so I just really enjoy connecting with people, helping them in their healing process, to help them find their strength and their foundation within it, and to really be focused on their own self-sourcing of wisdom and knowledge and their personal healing. So as far as cord cuttings go, I just find this is a really important topic for us to get out there, so people know how to really start energetically clearing and cleansing themselves and getting feeling in balance in their space and their sovereignty. So
Absolutely. And so, with that said, I'd love to dive into what we can expect for tonight. But before we do that, I would actually love to invite everybody to just take a minute and maybe bring your hands to prayer pose or rest them on your heart. Let your eyes close. And let's just take 3 deep collective breaths together to tune in and center ourselves. So, breathing in through your nose, gathering up any energy you're ready to release. And as you exhale, just blowing that away. Another deep breath in through your nose. Deep breath out. One more deep breath in. Deep breath out. Centering yourself for tonight's presentation, setting the intention to be present, to be open, and to receive exactly what you need to receive out of today's presentation. Sealing it all in with one more extra deep breath in and out. Beautiful. I love centering us in before we dive into this work, because it's so connected that it's so important that we're connected not only to ourselves, but also to spirit as well. So as we dive into today's presentation, we're going to be talking about what exactly are energetic cords, how they develop, how cords connect to the chakras and how they don't, but how they impact our energy field overall. We're going to be talking about how to sense and when to release cords. So, with that said, what are energetic cords? Cords are energetic connections and attachments. And what I mean by this is that anytime we have an intentional connection with a person, a place, an experience, our energy is flowing into that person or thing, and their energy is being returned back to us. So, right now, we all have some form of energetic connection to each other. You guys are listening to this presentation, we're talking to you guys. We have this energetic back and forth of giving and receiving energy. And so, we have some kind of energetic cord connecting each other. And a lot of times, when we hear the term energetic cords, we only think of the negative ones. But it's really important to understand that anytime we have an intentional connection, we're going to have an energetic cord. And these cords can have a two-way or a one-way energy flow. So meaning they can be a balance of giving and receiving, where both people are giving and receiving energy, or maybe one person is giving energy and one person is receiving energy. But when they become a one-way flow, meaning they are imbalanced, there's not a healthy balance in the way energy is flowing through these connections, that's when they can start to become a little toxic. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. But what's important to understand for right now is that when we're talking about a cord that's connecting a person to a person, so for example, a cord that maybe is connecting myself and Chantel, they are going to extend from our auric field, from our physical body, into our energy field and to the auric field and physical body of the person that we're connected with. And this is an energetic cord. And so, at our very basis, we want to understand that cords are just an energetic connection with another human being, place, or thing. And for today's presentation, we're going to be focusing on those cords that connect us person to person.
Okay.
So, how exactly are cords developed? We create attachments and cords to people, places, situations, and stories, like we were just talking about. Healthy cords can be developed through loving interactions. So, if you think about somebody that you have a really close connection with in your life, maybe this is your mom, your best friend, your spouse, your kiddo, somebody that you're really close with, and you have a really beneficial relationship. You support and love them, and they support and love you. That's a loving, balanced, healthy cord. But unhealthy energetic cords can be developed from things like toxic relationships and trauma. So, if we have a relationship where one of us is giving more than the other's receiving, and that feels really imbalanced, or it's an abusive relationship, or there's some kind of energetic tension between two people, that can cause a toxic cord, as can traumatic experiences. A lot of times we bond with people in traumatic experiences, no matter what our relationship was, and those can become toxic as well.
So understanding here is that with these relationships and these cords and how they're developed is any time that we are allowing these, because we do kind of allow these energies and these cords to attach to us, even if it is subconsciously, but it's because we are having this energetic exchange with each other. And when these cords are happening, as Isabel is explaining, that we are receiving and giving away of our energy. And so when we have this attachment, this weakness in our energy field, they come in like hooks and attachments and cords. And so when we are feeling drained, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling like we're just depleted and not quite sure why, then sometimes this is what is happening in our etheric body and our energy body, is that we have these attachments to others. And so this is a great way for us to start to see and feel and be consciously aware and intuitively aware of these cords that are attached into ourselves.
Absolutely. And so, a great question to ask yourself if you're wondering, is this cord, a healthy cord, or has it started to become a toxic cord, is really thinking about, does it feel like it's taking away from your overall energy or power? So, if it feels like it's taking away from your physical health or your mental health or your emotional well being, if there's a relationship with a person in your life that feels really imbalanced and toxic or harmful to your overall well being, chances are there's probably a cord connecting you that needs some healing. And the important thing to understand about cords is that these toxic cords attach through weaknesses in our energy fields. And these weaknesses can be caused by limiting beliefs and unhealed traumas. So, what I mean by this is that when you're a child and maybe you have an experience that teaches you to believe that you're not enough, right? Or that you're not worthy, or that you're unlovable, or any of these core limiting beliefs that so many of us hold on to, if we have that experience in childhood, it becomes embedded in our subconscious mind. We really start to believe, I am not enough. I am unworthy. I am unlovable. And this is going to create a weakness in our energetic field, especially in our chakras. So if we look at I'm not enough, that's going to impact our solar plexus chakra energy, that belief. It's going to limit our energy. That's part of why we call them limiting beliefs. But what this does is it creates a weakness in our energetic field, a concavity where it's more easy for something to plug in. So you can think of this like a weak link in a chain. It's a place in our energy field that's easier to be influenced and hooked into. And so if we don't have these limiting beliefs, right? If we in a perfect world didn't have any limiting beliefs and we believed 100% I am worthy, I am lovable, I am safe, I am enough, then we wouldn't have energetic cords, toxic energetic cords connected to us, because oftentimes these cords are feeding off of these beliefs. So if we feel like, no, I'm not enough, we might have an energetic cord to somebody who's constantly telling us, you're not enough. Give me your energy, give me your power, because it's going to be reaffirming that belief that you aren't enough. And so we want to be really aware and take the steps to do our personal healing work, coming into an understanding of what are my limiting beliefs about myself, knowing that it's these beliefs that are going to create a little bit of imbalance in our energy field and make it easier for these toxic or unhealthy or negative cords to develop and latch into our energy, and therefore pull away our power and pull away our energy and pull on all of those limiting beliefs and just send us further into that cycle of feeling unworthy or feeling like I'm not enough. And so this is another great way to notice if there's a cord in your life that needs to be cut or healed. Is there a situation or a person particularly that you interact with, and every time you interact with them you leave feeling like you're not enough, you leave feeling like you're less than, you leave feeling like you aren't loved or supported, chances are it's hooked into a limiting belief in your system and is pulling away your energy. And so this is why the first step to healing cords is always going to be doing our self-healing work, because if we can heal that weakness in our energy, if we can heal that link in the chain, there's nowhere for that cord to be connected to. And a lot of times they naturally fall away because there's nowhere for that cord to get energy from. There's nowhere for it to be hooked into us or our psyche.
And knowing too that this is, like we were talking about, like happening subconsciously on both sides, right? So it's not like the other person is hooked into you consciously and is like, oh, I'm throwing out this lasso, so to speak, and going to connect and hook into this person. It is just an energetic interaction that occurs. And when there is negative or toxic relationships, energy that's happening, and if you are feeling limited in these areas and thoughts in yourself, then that's how those cords can attach. And so going all the way back to childhood, so you can have cords that have been with you for decades and not even know it until you have a conversation like this, and this awareness comes to you and you're like, oh my gosh, you know what? I have been feeling like that since I was 8 years old and now I'm 50 or whatever. And so recognizing the healing comes from you now. You start the healing now in the process so that you can go all the way back into your childhood and start healing that. And so when that happens, that will free you up and start opening you up energetically to be more balanced within yourself and to feel more empowered. And
Absolutely.
knowing too that the love chords are a lot different than the toxic chords as it's speaking. So when you have those love chords, you want to nurture and care for those chords. But sometimes there's a little fragment or something within the relationship that needs to be healed. And that's where you just put the focus of loving that cord and that attachment versus a negative and traumatic one where you want to have that removed.
Absolutely. And so this goes into our next slide here of, are all cords bad? And this is where we need to remind ourselves that not always, right? Not every energetic connection that we have with another person is going to be unhealthy or imbalanced. And so we can start to shift our perspective on cords from being these negative things to just being representative of an energetic connection that we have with another person. When it starts to turn into a negative connection or a toxic connection, or what we typically think of as an energetic cord, is when we have an imbalance in the energy. So the location and the energetic balance of the connection or of that cord often tells us whether it's healthy or not. So we might have a heart chakra to heart chakra connection with our spouse or with our child or with our parents, right? Like Chantel was talking about, this really beautiful, loving, nurturing connection with another human being. And that is an energetic cord, but it's a positive one. And even if that relationship isn't perfect, right? Even if it has its bumps, it's still nurturing and that energy is balanced. And we often find those in the heart chakra. Whereas cords that attach to us in the solar plexus, which is our center of identity, our center of motivation, our center of knowing who we are and who we aren't, if we have cords and attachments in our solar plexus, those are often pulling on our personal power, and that energetic balance isn't balanced, it's imbalanced. So they're going to be pulling on our energy more than we are giving back, or it's going to be that our energy is kind of unwillingly flowing to them. So maybe we have someone in our life who feels like they have a lot of power over us, or that their judgment is really powerful in the way that we think about ourselves, or that we feel like we really need their validation. Chances are there's an energetic cord there hooked into our solar plexus that's pulling away our energy, taking away our power. And once again, it's going to be hooked into that limiting belief. And so, this is why, once again, it's so important to do this healing work in ourselves, of being really curious about, where are my limiting beliefs? Where are those places that I don't feel worthy, or I don't feel like I'm enough? And bringing awareness and light to that so that we can continue healing them. Because if we go through the process of cutting a cord, right? Let's say that hopefully by the end of our workshop tonight, you found a cord and it's ready to be released, and now you know how to release it, and you do that work and you feel so much better and your energy feels so expansive. And then a couple days later, you start to feel just as bad. This is why it's so important to do the self-healing work, because if we don't heal that weakness in our energy field, if we don't connect that weak link once again, it's just still open and available for another cord to hook back in. And so this is why cord cutting is a two-part healing experience, of doing this self-healing work, making sure we're working on our limiting beliefs, and also cutting and releasing that cord, so that we're releasing what no longer serves us, we're releasing any energy ties that are pulling away our power, but we're also healing our own energy and removing any potential for that cord to hook back in.
And so with this is working with your intuition. So when you are feeling into, let's say, a love cord and you're connecting to your heart chakra, and you think of a person, if that energy brings forward happy feelings, memories, and abundance, of experience, that's going to be your love cord. Now, if you go, say, to your solar plexus and you think of a person, and then you start to feel like, if you're feeling drained, you feel like there's like an icky feeling or something like that, chances are you are finding who that energy is connected to. Now, know too that you can be connecting to their energy. We also have the ability to hook into others. So if we're feeling like we aren't empowered and we are not strong and all of that, we can hook on to somebody else's energy, because we are drawing from them the strength or the empowerment or the confidence or whatever it is that we need. So like it being a two-way street, a two-way cord, we have to understand that. So at the same time, we can pull our energy back, calling back our power, strengthening our power, standing in like a strong foundation. So that way our cords are not going to be taking from either person. And this is really important because we are literally doing this every day. And so if we aren't ever cutting them, we can have cords happening just by going to the grocery store or whatever, because we're energetic beings and we're connecting with other beings that can see you and say, hey, I'm going to hook over there because I like that energy, right? And so having that ritual of doing some clearing, but knowing it, because in yourself, we have to be strong and have those limiting beliefs healed. And that's why coming forward and doing your healing work is so, so important, because then it's really difficult for others to hook in on you and you to hook on others.
Absolutely. And that's a fantastic point. And another part of this self-healing work that we do is being able to be really honest with ourselves of, am I hooked into someone else and pulling on their power, and doing this in a non-judgmental way, right? We are constantly searching for balance in our energy. And so if we feel unworthy or not enough or small in our own energy, it's a natural thing for us to want to hook into somebody who feels like they have more energy or more power than us, and try to bring that in. It might be a natural instinct, but it's not necessarily a healthy instinct. And so we want to be able to be really honest and open with ourselves, of not only looking for, where are the cords that other people have coming into me that are pulling away my energy, but are there any cords that I have going out to other people that are toxic or unhealthy? And how can I bring balance to that relationship, right? Knowing that there's that phrase, hurting people hurt people, and that we have the opportunity here to be the cycle breakers. We have the opportunity to be the ones who bring in healing into this space and reclaim our power, reclaim our energy, and release all of those cords on both sides, so that the collective can have a healthier energetic experience. And so, as we're talking about love cords in the heart chakra and maybe toxic or unhealthy cords in the solar plexus, this brings up the question, are all cords connected to our chakras? And this is where we can say, no, you know what? They're not. Cords can be connected anywhere in our energetic field. A lot of times, if they're really strong energetic cords, they will have made their way all the way into our chakra. But if it's maybe less of an energetic cord, or maybe it's from a past experience or a past life, they may be connected to your shoulder or your head or just the outside of your energetic field. Cords can be anywhere connected to our energy. And so we want to be really open to finding cords wherever they are in our energetic field and not just limiting ourselves to looking at the chakras. But it is important to understand that no matter where these cords connect, they do impact our energetic flow. So anywhere that there's a cord, it's going to cause our energy to not flow in as healthy or aligned a way. And this is going to lead to things like illness and disease. And so, this is why, like Chantel was saying at the beginning, if we find ourselves feeling really drained, if we find ourselves feeling really stuck in illness or constantly sick, or our mental health is really bad around a specific person, this is could be because there's an energetic cord pulling away our energy and pulling away our power. And we want to be really aware of how our energy is flowing in each area of our life, as well as in our auric field and our energetic field as a whole.
Yes. And knowing too, like for the example of illness and disease, is we can have connections to that. We can have cords and attachments to an illness, to a diagnosis, to a disease. And so knowing that too, you want to be able to provide the healing for yourself, to be able to have more of a balanced experience or a balanced perspective with your illness, or if you're sick, and why that is happening, so that you can go within your body and to really start communicating with your body and understanding why it is happening. But when you are able to tune in to your energy body, to your auric field, and know that there are spaces and places within it that aren't like fully attached, if there's any weaknesses, then that's where you can also say, okay, I need to clear this energy out. I need to clear this energy out. And so it is really connecting to your whole self, your physical, your mental, your emotional, all of it, so that it's not going to be so easy for these cords to be attaching.
Absolutely. And so, once again, it comes back to that self care and knowing that we are worthy to take time for ourselves to do our healing work, because it's going to allow us to show up more fully in our power and help others to show up in theirs and contribute to the balance of the overall energy. So, with that said, now that we've talked a little bit about how cords develop, we know why it's so important to understand our limiting beliefs, to be aware of our own energy, and to be really open and honest with ourselves about if we have cords going to other people and vice versa, as well as if we have attachments to stories about those cords. And we know that it's important to do that healing work so that when it comes time to cut the cord, we don't have that potential for the cord to come back in. Now we need to know, when do we cut those cords? Because, like we said, there might be love cords or loving attachments to other people that don't need to be cut. You don't want to release those. And so, of course, the very first sign is that your intuition tells you it's time to be cut. This is going to be the greatest and highest tool that you have at your disposal when it comes to cord cutting, is what is your intuition telling you about this energetic connection? And beyond that, if the energy flow is imbalanced, so once again, if one person is taking more energy than they're giving, or vice versa, if it starts to feel like there's just an imbalance in how you're showing up or the level of support that you're giving each other, that can be a sign that it's time to release that cord. If it's causing you discomfort, whether that's energetic discomfort or physical discomfort, or it feels like it's taking away your power. So, once again, is there a person in your life that every time you engage with, you come away from that experience feeling smaller? Chances are there's probably a toxic, unhealthy cord there, and we can use our intuition to decide, is this ready to be released and let go of? And of course, if it's causing physical disease, right? If we have a connection to a chakra and it's causing disease in that area, or we've had a cord for so long, like Chantel was saying earlier, if we've had a cord all the way from childhood and we've had an illness that has been going on for years and we don't know why, there could be a chance that there's a cord connected to it. And once again, we want to come back to our intuition, or even potentially work with a practitioner to see, is this ready to be released? And finally, if the relationship will not be healed. So sometimes an imbalance in energy flow is because there's an imbalance in the relationship. Maybe communication isn't happening. Maybe one person isn't doing as much as the other person is doing. And that's leading to some resentment or some guilt or some anxiety or an intense energetic experience. And what needs to happen there isn't that the cord needs to be cut, but it's that the relationship itself needs to be rectified. There needs to be that open communication. There needs to be an honest conversation about, hey, I'm feeling this way. How are you feeling? And when we do that interpersonal work, a lot of times imbalanced relationship cords can heal. But if we've done the work, if we've had the open communication, if we've taken steps to heal the relationship, and we know that it's not going to change and it's still an unhealthy relationship for us to be in and it's taking away from our well being, then that's the cord that's ready to be cut and released. And so, once again, remember that the inner healing work is just as important as releasing the cord itself. And this includes the interpersonal work that we're doing with the people in our lives. We don't want to just be cutting cords because there's somebody that we don't like or the relationship isn't going well or what have you. We want to make sure that we're really showing up. And just like we know from our Reiki principles, just for today, I will do my work honestly. And so we want to make sure that we're showing up and doing the work both within ourselves and within our relationships before we go to actually cutting the cord.
So here I want to say too is that know that some cords are very vital to our soul journey, to our human experience here with connecting with others. So sometimes with cord cutting, we have to ask if this is for, sorry, my highest good and the highest good of all. Because some cords are meant to be there. Some cords are meant to be there to have that relationship, that lesson of learning or whatever it is. So those cords, we don't just want to sever. And those are the relationships then we want to put more energy into and try to heal and try to have that camaraderie. Hey, like, let's work this out. But if it does get to a point where it's difficult to have that relationship because it is too toxic, and then you go in and you ask, is this ready to be cut and released? You will know through intuition if it is. And that's because on that bigger level, that soul level, it is time to let that cord go. It's time to let that relationship go, that contract or agreement with that other soul to go. But there is this way of asking that you want to make sure so that people, because I see this a lot when people come to me and they, hey, can I do cord cutting and this and that? Yes. But you don't just want to be like cutting, 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 cutting. And now all of your relationships have been pulled away from you and you're left there with nothing because that's not the point of cord cutting. The point of cord cutting is to really release the ones that are draining on you, that are having a negative impact on you, and that are toxic. And so if you feel that you're not healing properly through your journey work and all of that, through your chakras, your healing, your spirituality, that's when you know there are some cords that need to be cut. But some of them are very important to keep and just keep focusing on the healing process of them.
Absolutely. And so, once again, coming back to trusting your intuition because you will know, you will have this inner knowing, whether you've done a lot of work with your intuition or not, you'll just have this feeling of, yes, this is ready to release, or no, this has more work to be done with it. And so, this is also, too, where we want to bring in the awareness that we have to respect the autonomy of the person on the other side of the cord. So, it is not our job to do the healing work for the other person. It is not our job to cut their end of the cord. It's not our job to tell them even that, hey, we had a cord and I cut it. We need to respect the awareness and the autonomy of the person on the other side and recognize that the only healing that we are responsible for is our own. And so we're going to talk about a way to cut and release cords that is really responsible and ethical in terms of how we're releasing it for the person on the other side. But we have to start with that understanding that they are autonomous, sovereign beings, and their journey is their journey. We can only perform our own cord cuttings for ourselves and trust that that person is exactly where they need to be for their journey. And so this is where we get to the reason that you all are here of how do we cut those cords. So let's say that we've done the work to think about all of our relationships, to bring to mind the one that feels really toxic or unhealthy, maybe the person that you had in mind when you started listening to this presentation. And we've decided that, you know what? Yeah, that cord is imbalanced. That relationship isn't going to heal, and that cord is ready to release. You might not actually know where in your energetic field that cord actually is. And you might actually not know if there's a cord in the first place. And so, what's important here is once again to just think about who do you have connections with, and where is that toxic, imbalanced, unhealthy relationship? And if you have something like this, or maybe you have some of those signs and symptoms that we've talked about of low physical health, or feeling like your power is being drained away, or feeling like someone has a lot of power over you and you can't seem to stop worrying about what are they thinking about you, and are they judging you and needing their validation. If you're having some of these signs, this is where we get to get curious about where are our cords. And so we're going to take a moment as we're doing this work, and this is something that I encourage you to do on your own time, of taking a moment to set up a sacred space. Take a few deep breaths, tune into your energy, however that looks for you. Maybe that's doing some self Reiki. Maybe that's just taking some intentional breaths. Maybe that's saging and working with a crystal. Just take a moment to create a really sacred space for yourself and set the intention that you're going to find any cords that are ready to be released. And then just with your hands, with your mind's eye, just scanning your physical body, just genuinely running your hands over your energetic field, running your mind's eye over your energetic field, and sensing into your energy. Trust what comes through. Once again, cord cutting is a big exercise in learning how to trust our intuition. So trust that if you have a cord that's ready to be released, you will be made aware of it. And when you find that cord, if you have a cord, you can find it and hold the cord in one hand. And before we cut it, we want to make sure that we're feeling into it. We want to notice, what's the texture? How big is it? How much energy does it have going into it? Where in our body is it connected? Because where it's connected can give us a lot of information about what we need to heal once we've cut that cord. So once again, if that cord is connected to your solar plexus, then you know, okay, I have a limiting belief about myself that I need to work on healing once I've cut and released this cord. So we want to take a moment to sit with the cord and ask it, is this meant to be released? Is this meant to be cut today? And if we get a yes, if we know that this is ready to be released, we're going to hold the cord in one hand, and with the other, we're going to have an imaginary knife, a pair of scissors, a dagger, a sword, something that you can cut with. Or you can even take an actual physical selenite wand or crystal knife or some kind of cord cutting tool that you feel really empowered using. So, the importance of what we're using here is that we feel like it's going to be able to cut the cord, and we feel really empowered when we use it. And from there, you're going to visually or physically cut the cord with that tool while saying, I release and forgive you and all that you represent. And this is a really interesting point when it comes to cord cutting. Of some people feel like just doing it energetically, just visualizing holding that cord in one hand, seeing themselves holding a sword and then slashing through the cord energetically is enough to clear it. Other people really like having a physical component. And so if you have sensed a cord, you can always tie a piece of ribbon or rope or twine around your body where that energetic cord is, and then physically cut it away with a pair of scissors, safely with a knife, so that you have a physical representation of that cord breaking and being released. And the important thing to remember, once we have cut this, once we have said, I release and forgive you and all that you represent, because that's bringing in this aspect of forgiveness for our self healing, forgiveness that we allowed that cord to stay, forgiveness for the role that we played in that relationship, and also forgiveness on the other side, that we are ready and fully able and willing to release that cord. Because if we were holding a grudge, that cord would still be there, right? We'd still be connected to that person. And so that piece of forgiveness, I release and forgive you and all that you represent, is really important. But we also want to make sure that once that cord has been cut, we remove the end of the cord that was connected to us. So we scan through our energy field, we find that piece of cord that's still connected, and we brush it away. We release it to the earth. We release it to our power animal, if that's in your practice. We pull it out of our energy and let it go. And then you can go through all of the other cords that you have with the same ritual, envisioning that they're being burned in a fire, or that your spirit helpers are coming to help you clear them completely. So, to summarize this process, how we're going to cut a cord is we're going to sense into our energetic field and find that cord. We're going to make sure that it's ready to be released. We're going to trust our intuition about how that shows up. Then we're going to either physically tie something around our waist to represent that cord, or just energetically hold that cord in one hand and cut it with our tool in the other, using that affirmation, I release and forgive all that you represent. And then we're going to release whatever part of that cord is still, the other end that was attached to us. We're going to release that to the earth, to our spirit helpers, whatever feels best for us in our practice that day.
Yes. One thing I would like to add is when you are going back to the space within your own body, the cord that is left, coming back and sealing and healing that with Reiki, that is the great balance between shamanism and Reiki, is bringing those two practices together, because the shamanic part is going through, you're pulling and cutting out that cord, you're releasing it to the earth, you're giving it to your power animal, and at the same time, you're coming in and following it up with Reiki and being able to really energetically and connect with divine energy, universal energy, bringing in and sealing that up. And so if afterwards you feel from doing this cord cutting that there is some kind of a void or an emptiness or a change within your energy field, know that that is a natural part of this. You should feel some kind of shift in your physical body and your energetic body once this is done, because that cord actually took energetic space within your physical body. And you want to know that when you pull that out, you might feel this tug, you might feel this pull, you might feel a sense of release, or like if there's something that's been wrapped around your throat, so to speak, and you cut that, and then suddenly you can breathe deeper, you can, your throat opens up, you're able to speak more clearly. You want to understand what the cords can do to us. And so when we are cutting and clearing and doing all of this work, we should feel a sense of change within us. And that sealing and healing is going to bring in that sense of empowerment.
Absolutely. And so, on that note, knowing that some people, when they go into the cord cutting process, they don't like the idea of just cutting the cord. That feels really severe. They feel worried about the person on the other side. They feel like maybe a little bit of is still left in them. And so, if this is you, if you're looking for a more ethical or aligned way to practice cord cutting, this is where we can bring in the unplug method. So, the unplug method is going to allow us, instead of just cutting and severing that cord, we're actually going to detach that cord from us fully, but we're going to give it up to source. So that person on the other side is still connected to source. They're connected to the divine. They're still receiving energy, so that they don't feel like their energy, that power that they were pulling from us, is now suddenly gone. And there would be, imagine, right? If you were pulling energy from someone and that suddenly was gone, you would feel really anxious and upset, and you would start searching for somewhere else to hook in. And so, with the unplug method, we actually have the ability to plug this cord back into source, so that not only are we giving it up to source and saying whatever is for this person's best and highest good, knowing that we're respecting the autonomy of the person on the other end, we're giving it over to the divine, we're releasing our relationship, our responsibility with this cord. But we're also making sure that the person on the other end is receiving healing divine energy on their end of things. And so, to practice the unplug method, we're going to find the cord, just like we talked about a moment ago, and we're going to envision it having a male plug on the end of the cord that's going into our body or into our energetic field. And on our side, in our energy, in our body, we're going to see that inlet. So, where the plug would plug into a wall, for example, we're going to visualize that in our energy field, meeting each other where that cord's coming into our energy or physical body. And so, we're going to envision that we're unplugging it. So, physically pulling your hand away, grabbing that cord and pulling it out of the socket, while using that affirmation, I release and forgive you and all that you represent. And then we're going to take that cord and lift it up and visualize plugging it in to source energy, so that that energy is still going to that other person. They're receiving healing source energy, which is so much more healing and empowering than our energy would ever be to them, right? And we're also then giving it over to source. We're releasing our connection to it. We're letting the divine do what is for the best and highest good of the person on the other end. And so, we're going to plug it back in. And then, once again, after we've plugged it back in, we want to make sure that we come back and pull out the plug from our own energetic field and fill that space with Reiki and love and light and healing. So we're completing that cycle. We're completely releasing any connection to the cord. We've given it to the source, we've given it to the divine, and we're healing our own energetic field. And then once again, as always, following that up with our own self-healing work of being honest with ourselves of why did that cord happen in the first place? What was it in my energy field and the way that I think about myself that made me feel like I needed to give my power away or that allowed that person to hook in? Having an open reflection time with yourself after you cut cords is really important because, like Chantel said, once you've pulled that out, once you've released it, your energy is going to start shifting and it's going to become a lot more easy to understand. Oh, that's why it was hooked in when you have that space versus when the cord is still active in your energy. Sometimes it's a lot easier to understand why it was there in the first place after we've released it. And so knowing that the unplug method is a really powerful way to release these cords while still, being responsible and ethical with the person on the other end.
Yeah, that's one of my most favorite methods of cord cutting. But also going back to the idea that we too can be the ones that are plugging in. So if you feel that it's your energy that is plugged into somebody else, then you can unplug that cord that is still attached to you and offer it to source energy so that you are receiving the energy in which you need, and then offering and sending that healing to the other person so that there isn't, because when I think of like cords themselves being cut, I always kind of feel like the one side is like this energy cord that's just out there in search for that connection again, right? And so when you do that plug in, that is a great a visual of being able to see it like it's got a place, it's been plugged in, it's a done deal. You know it's done, and you have to trust that it's done. And that is the part with cord cutting or unplugging your cords is knowing too, once it is a done deal, you have to trust that and not go back and rethink about it and retell the story about it and get attached to what that cord represented. You have to know the healing process is in process, trust the process of it, and know that it's okay and let it go. Otherwise, it will come back to you and you're going to find yourself in the same situation. So it's just really important to always come back to self-awareness. And when you have the self-awareness, it's the great opportunity then to go, okay, I need to do healing here. I need to be doing this with myself, whatever it is, setting boundaries, creating new rituals, new patterns, new processes within your own self, so it will stop those cords from being reattached.
Absolutely. And so knowing that we do have this really powerful method for any of these cords that are ready to be released, whether it's someone hooking into our energy or us hooking into someone else's energy, we can release them back to the divine, plug them back into source, and really reclaim our own power and our own healing, making sure that we're sealing it in with Reiki and doing that self-healing piece, as well as trusting our intuition that it's a done deal, that this healing has occurred, that we released what needed to be released, maybe even affirming that to yourself so that you can continue on in your life and in your day in a more empowered and aligned space. And so, with all of this said, if this presentation really resonated for you, if you're really curious about cord cutting or working with your spirit team or having a deeper connection with source or the divine or any of these elements that we've talked about today, know that this might be a sign that it's time to add shamanic techniques to your practice. So, whether you are a Reiki practitioner or you work with crystals or you're a yogi or whatever it is, shamanic techniques have a beautiful synergy with every other healing modality because shamanism is our ability to connect with nature with a capital N, to connect with source, to connect with ourselves more fully. It's an inherent way that we connect with spirit. And so when we learn shamanic techniques, they can go right alongside with things like Reiki or yoga or chakras or divination or whatever it is that you do. Just like you saw us today, use Reiki and cord cutting together in this experience. And so, learning shamanic techniques like cord cutting or the process of shamanic journeying to the upper, middle, and lower realms to meet your spirit guide, your higher self, and your power animal, these powerful members of your spirit team that can assist you in doing this energetic healing work, either for yourself or for others, and how to transmute energy, right? How to release energy that doesn't serve us and call back our power and our healing can let you confidently handle any energetic experience that you may have. And again, your personal healing session. So when you sit down to do Reiki, when you're working with your crystals, they become more formative because you know what needs to be released and how to call back your power. You also know that by connecting with your spirit guides and your power animals, welcoming in your angels, utilizing the universal healer animals that we have is a game changer because suddenly we have these other beings that are here to support us. We're not alone in the work that we're doing anymore. And it also allows us to step out of a place of fear because we know, that we have the tools, we have the skills that we need to be able to step into a connection with ourselves and with spirit. And so, if you love today's presentation, know that this is, believe it or not, just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to cord cutting. We have a longer 2 or 3 hours of training on cord cutting specifically in our Soul Rising Shamanic Reiki course. And this is just one of over 35 techniques that we teach you over the course of 4 months. So, Soul Rising is an online 4 month shamanic Reiki program that is designed to not only give you these tangible techniques, things like cord cutting and soul retrieval and inner child healing and shamanic journey work to the upper, middle, and lower realms, the ability to connect with your spirit team, your spirit guide, your power animal, as well as to turn on your spiritual gifts or learn how to control them. So, work with your clairvoyance, work with your clairaudience, work with your connection to spirit or your empathic abilities so they start to feel more like a gift rather than a burden, like you're constantly taking on people's energy. We're giving you all of these tools and techniques while we are walking you through the step by step process to do the shadow work, to heal your limiting beliefs, to look back in a gentle, loving, and safe way at the traumas that you experienced or the difficult things you experienced that led to those limiting beliefs being developed, and do the work to heal, process, and release those while calling back your power, calling back your worth, installing those new beliefs so that you know that you are worthy to do this work, that you are worthy to step into this space, to connect with your spirit and soul, to connect with your spirit team, and do this healing work. So know that our Soul Rising Shamanic Reiki course is currently open for early bird enrollment. We have payment plans available as well as pay in full, and we are more than happy to work with you and your financial situation because if this is meant for you, just like we talked about, if that cord is ready to be released, you will know. If you are called to walk the shamanic path, if you're called to learn more about how we can work with the elements, how we can reconnect to our origins, how we can connect to our intuition and our soul, how we can call on spirit and develop a direct connection, a direct line to the divine, if you will, as we learn how to journey. If you're ready to look at your lower 4 chakras, these powerful centers of healing, and learn about them, learn how to release your limiting beliefs, how to heal your inner child, how to communicate more openly and effectively, how to feel like you have a solid foundation and you are safe in the world, you're safe in your body. And along the way, healing those physical ailments that you might have, learning how to understand your energy, and connecting with over 35 incredibly powerful techniques so that we offer you a buffet of options. Our program is never, ever about this is how you heal. This is your 10-step program to healing. It is always about here are the tools and techniques that you can use. What works for you? How can we connect you to your intuition, to your journey? And so, to that, you're going to have a dedicated circle mentor in the course. So, either myself or Chantel are going to be accessible to you outside of class to send messages, to offer sessions, to offer support so that you have one-on-one support in the program. And we're going to tailor the call schedule to meet your availability. So if you're interested in joining the course and you're worried about making the calls work because maybe you're on the other side of the world, don't worry. We tailor the call schedule to your availability to make sure that everyone can come to at least one call a week. And on those calls, we're going to be deep diving into all of the content. So this course is about a 4-hour time commitment every week. And those 4 hours are comprised of 2 hours in live class, as well as 2 hours of pre-recorded content. So in the course, it's broken up into 4 modules, one for root chakra, one for sacral, one for solar plexus, and one for heart. And in those modules, you have pre-recorded videos about shamanic techniques, chakra healing, energy healing, Reiki training, coaching techniques to help you work through those limiting beliefs, shadow work tools, and so much much more. There's also guided meditations, activating actions, so quick, easy things that you can do to bring your energy back into alignment, as well as workbooks. So if you're more of a visual learner and you like journal prompts and you like questions and you like physical material, we've got you covered there too. So you're going to spend about 2 hours every week reviewing your materials outside of class, and then you'll bring that knowledge and information in class, and we'll make sure all of your questions get answered, as well as doing practical application of the things that you're learning in class. So we're not just sending you off to learn these things and saying good luck. We're actually bringing you back into class and making sure that you understand and you know how to apply it to your own life. And so if this is something that you're interested, if you are curious in learning more about walking the shamanic path, in receiving Reiki training, whether you're already a Reiki master or you're brand new, if you're ready to take that step to heal your chakras, to work with your spirit team, to heal your inner child and release your limiting beliefs, to step into empowerment and healing and know that you are worthy and capable of living the life of your dreams, know that we are open for early bird enrollment right now. Like I said, we have a payment plan and a pay in full option, and I would be more than happy to chat with you about this experience. So I will leave a link for a free 15-minute connect call with me where we can hop on. You can tell me about your journey, how you got to where you are, what brings you here, where you're at, and we can have an open conversation about what you're looking for and if soul rising is right for you. We are never going to force you or cajole you into joining our program. We truly believe that if you are meant to join this, and probably if you're still listening to us talking about it, chances are it is meant for you and you will know. And we trust your soul, we trust your intuition to guide you to this if it's meant for you. But if your mind still have questions, that's okay. So we will leave the link to the webpage where you can learn more. You can see everything that's included in this course. You can look over some of the materials, as well as a link to book that free connect call with me. No commitment necessary, just a chance to connect and see if this is your next best step. We will leave those in the chat if you want to learn more. And so, with that said, thank you all so much for sharing your support, for asking your questions, for showing up and being open to doing this work. If you have questions on what we presented tonight that you just want to message us privately, feel free. And of course, be sure to check out the Soul Rising Shamanic Reiki course. We put the link to the website in the chat, as well as a link to book a connect call with us. Come chat with us. Have 15 minutes to just see where are you at and is this right for you. So feel free to use those links or message us directly. And until next time, may you awaken to all of those whispers of wisdom rising from within. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you soon. Sending you so much
Bye,
love.
everyone. Have a good night.